I, 32, female, have never had a great relationship with my parents. They were always traditional and old school, and I was not. I married for love, not status. I worked full time even after getting married. I never asked for a single dollar from my parents once I was out of college. My husband and I made a life from scratch. It wasn't always glamorous, but it was honest. Apparently, that wasn't enough for them. They made it clear that I had married down. My husband isn't from a wealthy family. He's kind, respectful, and supportive, but that never mattered to them. What mattered was that he did not give me the luxury to stay at home like a real woman should. They constantly reminded me that I was settling and wasting my law degree working in a mid-tier firm, building up slowly instead of aiming to land some high society marriage. On the other hand, my younger sister, 29, female, could do no wrong. She married a rich guy at 24, quit her job, and immediately became the ideal daughter. According to my parents, she was the only one who understood her duties as a woman. They treated her like royalty. Every time we met, they would point out how beautiful she looked, how lucky her husband was to have her at home, and how she did not need to prove herself with a paycheck. I got tired of hearing it. Slowly, I stopped calling, stopped visiting. My parents didn't seem to notice. They were too busy fawning over my sister and her lavish lifestyle. They did not come to my wedding anniversary party last year. They did not even ask how my work was going when I made partner earlier this year. When I sent them the good news, all I got was a thumbs up emoji from my dad. Fast forward to last week. I was working late when I got a missed call from my mom, then another, then a dozen texts asking me to call back. I ignored them at first, thinking maybe she had dialed or something. But then my dad called me in the middle of a meeting. That had never happened before. I picked up thinking someone had died. Turns out they had just found out that my perfect sister had been taking out multiple credit cards in their name without their permission, without telling them. She had maxed out over $500,000 in credit card debt over the last 2 years. Spa days, designer bags, resort stays, online shopping, all of it on cards under their names. They never noticed because she kept intercepting the mails, and they rarely check online statements. They just assumed things were fine because why wouldn't they be? After all, their golden child could never do anything wrong. They were panicking. The banks had started calling. Debt collectors were threatening legal action. They did not understand what was going on, and now suddenly the daughter they had ignored for years was their only hope. Because I have a useless law degree and work in finance-related litigation. I did not say much that day. I just told them to send me everything. I got the credit reports, the bank statements, the fake email addresses my sister had created to manage the accounts. She had gone all out, even forged their signatures on some of the applications. It wasn't just fraud, it was identity theft. I couldn't believe how deep she had gotten into this or how long it had gone unnoticed. When I called her to ask what the hell she was thinking, she did not even sound guilty. She said she didn't think it would get this far. She was just trying to live up to the lifestyle her husband expected, and he had recently lost a lot of money in a business deal. She said our parents owed her, anyway, for raising her to be dependent. She said they would be fine and that I'd figured it out like I always do, and then she hung up. I spent 3 days going through all the documents, talking to the banks, reviewing the potential charges, trying to assess what kind of legal exposure my parents were facing. The answer was a lot. Technically, they were liable. These accounts were opened under their names. Even if my sister used forged signatures, the banks wouldn't just drop it. The burden of proof was on them to prove identity theft, and that meant filing charges against their own daughter. When I told them that, they freaked out. My dad got quiet, but my mom started crying. "She didn't mean it like that," she kept saying. "She's just under pressure. You know how hard it is for women in high society." I bit my tongue so hard, I thought I'd bleed. I wanted to scream. For years they told me I wasn't doing enough, wasn't good enough. And now the daughter they idolized had dragged them into serious legal trouble, and they were still making excuses for her. I explained to them calmly that unless they were willing to press charges, the banks weren't going to just drop the matter. If they wanted me to help, they needed to give me full legal power to represent them. That included allowing me to contact the credit bureaus, negotiate settlements, and if needed, go to court. It wasn't going to be easy, and it definitely wasn't going to be pretty. They hesitated. My mom asked if there was any way we could make it all go away quietly. I told her no. It's either a legal process or they pay the entire amount plus interest, late fees, and penalties, which could go up to $1 million or more. After a lot of back and forth, they finally agreed. I've started working on a legal strategy. I have spoken to a couple of contacts to see if we can negotiate some settlements with the credit card companies. But unless my sister steps up and pays it off herself, which she won't, this is going to drag on for a while. My parents have been calling me every day now. They suddenly remember to ask if I have eaten. They keep praising how smart I am and how lucky they are that I chose a good profession. It's honestly exhausting. They haven't apologized not once for how they treated me over the years. It's like none of that happened. They have just replaced their praise for my sister with praise for me, only because they need me right now. The part that really stings, I still love them. Despite everything, I still care. And I am going to help them because no one else will. But I also know that once this blows over, they'll probably go right back to treating me like a backup plan. I do not think I'll ever get the apology I deserve. And I don't know if I should keep trying to fix things with people who only value me when I'm useful. AITA for not wanting to help my parents after they treated me like garbage for years and only called me because their perfect daughter screwed them over, and now they need my useless law degree to bail them out. Update 1. So a lot has happened since I made that post, and trust me, I wish I was making this up. After I took over handling the legal mess, things got more complicated than I expected. Turns out, this wasn't just about a few credit cards. My sister had also taken out a personal loan under my dad's name and created a fake income document to qualify for it. I only found out because I asked one of my contacts to run a more detailed financial check, and boom, $100,000 loan popped up. Taken less than 8 months ago, my parents had no clue. When I brought it up, my mom started sobbing like I'd accused her of the crime. She still refused to believe my sister was trying to hurt them and said she probably just borrowed it with the intention of paying it back. I reminded her that forgery, identity theft, and fraud are literally crimes, intention or not. But here's the real kicker. A few days ago, I got a call from my sister's husband. This man, who I assumed had no idea about any of this, calls me and says I should stop digging around and just help clean things up quietly because this is all family business. I asked him straight up if he knew what she was doing, and he said something like, "You do not understand how high society works. Women need to maintain a standard. These things happen." He sounded annoyed at me for getting involved. That's when it hit me. he knew. Maybe not every detail, but he definitely knew about the spending and maybe even helped her cover it up at some point. The personal loan might have even benefited him. And now they're panicking because I have made it clear this isn't going away without legal consequences. So I told my parents everything, that this goes deeper than just some careless spending, that my sister and her husband have potentially used their identities to fund their lifestyle, and that if they do not take this seriously, they could lose everything, their savings, their credit score, possibly even their home. As of today, we have filed a formal complaint with the Cybercrime Division and sent notices to the banks disputing the accounts. My parents gave me full legal authority to act on their behalf. It's going to be a long road. But here's the twist. My sister found out about the complaint and she's gone radio silent, deleted her socials, switched off her phone. Her husband says she's at a retreat, but I think she's running. And suddenly my parents are living in my guest room. Poetic, isn't it? Update 2. So things have taken an even darker turn, and at this point, I do not even know what kind of family drama I have been dropped into. Remember how my sister went completely silent after the complaint was filed? Well, turns out she wasn't at a retreat like her husband claimed. She was in Miami with a man who is not her husband. Yup. An old college boyfriend who, according to a friend of mine working at a hotel there, has been footing the bill for luxury stays and spa days for the past 2 weeks. And she was using a fake name on the booking. Classy. But here's where it gets worse. That same friend mentioned that during her stay there were multiple high-value online transactions being processed from that hotel's IP address, several of which were flagged by the bank because they matched the pattern of fraud being investigated in my parents' case. So not only was she hiding out with another man, but she was still actively using my parents' financial identity while on this little getaway. I confronted her husband. I asked if he had any idea what was going on, and he finally broke. He admitted he knew she had been lying and stealing for a while, but said he stayed quiet because he did not want a divorce, not for love, but because her leaving would ruin his image. He then said, and I quote, "If she goes down, she's taking all of us with her, including you." Turns out he had roped her into some shady business deals a couple of years ago. She started forging my parents' details when one of his ventures started losing money. So this wasn't just my sister stealing from our parents. This was both of them building their entire lifestyle on fake credit and identity fraud. The luxury was all one big illusion. And guess what else? One of the companies they borrowed from is owned by his uncle, who has now threatened to file a case against my parents, thinking they were in on it. My parents had no idea they'd been listed as guarantors. I have now had to loop in a senior lawyer I work with because this is spiraling fast. We are talking multiple fraud complaints, stolen identities, possible criminal conspiracy charges, and an extended family member who is threatening legal action. The banks are demanding repayment, and my sister's husband is refusing to cooperate. And my sister is still AWOL. And here's the cherry on top. My mom still can't bring herself to say she did wrong. She keeps crying and saying, she's not a bad person. She was just scared. I told her being scared doesn't justify destroying everyone around you. I told her that if she wanted to keep protecting her, she should also be ready to face the consequences, because this time I am not protecting anyone who won't protect themselves. My sister's gone from golden child to a full-blown fugitive, and I think this is just the beginning. Update 3. It's been a chaotic few weeks and everything has escalated beyond what I imagined. After ignoring all legal notices, My sister was officially declared wanted by the authorities. The fraud cases moved forward fast. Banks, cybercrime, even family friends began pressing charges. When we couldn't find her in Miami, we discovered she had fled to Dubai using an expired passport, likely through bribery. She called me from a burner number, crying and begging for help after the guy she ran off with ditched her. I didn't argue, I just told her she had made this mess herself. Meanwhile, her husband got hit with his own set of legal issues. Turns out, he used my parents' identities to apply for business loans under fake companies. One of them is now under investigation for money laundering. He's trying to cut a deal by cooperating with authorities and blaming everything on her. Poetic justice, honestly. My parents are in complete shock. My dad barely speaks, and my mom is finally facing reality, though it took watching their entire reputation and savings crumble. She even asked me if they were bad parents. I didn't answer because honestly, what should I say that they did not already know? I have filed for complete legal separation of their identities from the fraudulent activities and started damage control with the banks. It's slow and painful, but we are getting somewhere. I'm helping only because I don't want them to lose their home, but I have made it clear once the legal stuff is settled, I am stepping back. I've done my duty as a lawyer. As a daughter, that ship sailed years ago when they chose appearances over truth. The daughter they dismissed for working and being too modern is now the only reason they aren't behind bars. The daughter they worshipped is now facing international fraud charges. Funny how life works out. Story 2. 3 weeks ago at my law school graduation, everything fell apart. I'm 26 and so is my twin sister Jenny. We both just finished our JDs. I from a mid-tier state school, she from an expensive private one. We both graduated magna cum laude, a huge deal given our background. Growing up, Jenny was always the golden child. She got the better high school, college prep courses, a car for her 16th birthday, while I worked part-time to buy mine. I hoped things would balance out over time. Spoiler, they didn't. When it came to law school, I picked a more affordable option because I knew I'd need loans. Jenny chose the private school with our dad's blessing. He told her money wasn't an object. I worked through school to stay afloat. Jenny didn't need to. She focused on studying and networking, and I assumed she had better financial aid. Graduation week came and both our ceremonies were on the same day. Jenny's at 10 a.m., mine at 3 p.m. Our parents planned to attend both. I wasn't at hers, but it seemed to go smoothly. Mine did too, until they unexpectedly called both Jenny and me up to give speeches. Apparently, our parents gave permission for both schools to have us speak without telling us. We stood on stage together, twin sisters, dual graduates. The crowd loved it. Jenny spoke first, thanking our parents for believing in her, for investing in her education, and for celebrating her job offer from a top downtown firm. Then I spoke. Her speech had stung a bit, so I leaned into honesty. I talked about juggling work and school loans and how proud I was to have done it on my own. I mentioned my excitement about joining a smaller firm focused on family law and helping underserved clients. People clapped for both speeches, but I noticed our parents looked uncomfortable. Afterward, at the reception, my mom pulled me aside and accused me of making them look bad. I was confused. I thought I'd been positive. Then my dad joined in and dropped a bombshell. We paid off Jenny's loans last month. We didn't think you'd actually make it through law school, so we didn't want to waste the money. I was stunned. Jenny walked over, sensing something was wrong. When she heard what Dad said, she went pale. She hadn't known. They paid off her $180,000 in loans without telling me, while I was stuck with $75,000 in debt. She'd assumed they were helping us equally, in different ways and had no idea I was completely on my own financially. Everything turned into a mess. Jenny started crying. I tried not to break down, and our parents got defensive. They justified it by saying her school costs more and she was more gifted. Jenny and I left together, heading to my apartment to talk it out. We stayed up all night processing it. She offered to split the benefit of her loan forgiveness, which was kind, but missed the point. It wasn't about the money. It was about the fact they never believed in me the way they believed in her. That conversation brought Jenny and me closer. She admitted the pressure she'd felt to live up to the investment, while I had been fighting to prove I was worthy of basic support. We both decided we needed space from our parents. Jenny told them she was hurt by the lie of equal treatment. I told them I needed time to process their admission that they had no faith in me. And since then, our parents have been spiraling. Turns out their retirement plan relied on both of us becoming successful lawyers who could help support them. They've been calling, texting, begging us to attend family therapy, offering to pay off my loans now. Though at this point, that just feels like damage control. I'm torn. I'm glad the truth is finally out, but I'm also heartbroken. They clearly saw Jenny as the better bet and wrote me off before I even had the chance to prove myself. I can't help but wonder if this hadn't blown up, would they have ever come clean? Jenny and I both start our jobs next month. We're closer now than we've been in years and are planning to move in together. She's been incredibly supportive and keeps apologizing, even though it wasn't her fault. But I'm still struggling with what to do about our parents. They say they're sorry and want to make it right, but I'm not sure they're sorry for the right reasons. Are they sorry for the betrayal or just because their favoritism backfired? Update 1. Things took a surprising turn yesterday. My parents showed up at my apartment unannounced while Jenny and I were packing for our move. They brought a cashier's check for $75,000, enough to pay off my student loans, and a long typed apology letter they clearly spent time crafting. The letter was detailed and, frankly, more honest than I expected. They admitted to years of favoritism towards Jenny, explained that it started in elementary school when she tested better, and confessed that they'd let that early perception dictate how they treated us. They acknowledged that it hurt our relationship and said they were proud of both of us for graduating from law school. They wanted a fresh start and said this was their way of making amends. Jenny got emotional while our mom read the letter aloud. I could tell she was moved and wanted to believe they were sincere. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the timing was suspicious. We'd cut them off and suddenly they were showing up with money and apologies. It felt like they were trying to buy forgiveness instead of genuinely owning their actions. I told them I appreciated the gesture but needed time. Jenny said she also wasn't ready to dive back into family dinners and holiday get-togethers. She wanted to rebuild trust gradually, and so did I. That's when Dad's demeanor shifted. He grew frustrated and said they'd done everything they could to fix things. That reaction, impatience, when we weren't ready to forgive on their timeline, proved they didn't fully grasp the depth of the hurt. This wasn't just about the money, it was about years of feeling lesser, of not being believed in, of being treated like a backup plan while Jenny got their full support. They left the check on my counter and said they'd give us space, though it was clear they were hoping for a quick resolution. After they left, Jenny and I had a long, serious talk about what to do. She thought I should use the money. It would free me from debt and give me a clean financial start. I was torn. Accepting it felt like accepting the apology wholesale, and I wasn't ready for that. For now, we've locked the check away in Jenny's safe while I sort through my feelings. Jenny's been incredible. She's made it clear that she won't resume a normal relationship with our parents until I'm ready, and that solidarity means the world to me. Meanwhile, extended family has started chiming in. My aunt called, urging me to forgive them. A couple of cousins sent messages about how hurt our parents are, Clearly, our parents have been telling their side of the story to the family, framing themselves as the ones who are being unfairly shut out. I start my new job on Monday, family law, which suddenly feels fitting. And I'm looking forward to shifting focus. I'm still unsure about the money and my relationship with our parents. But what I do know is this: Jenny and I are solid, and that's what matters most right now. Update 2. A huge development just came out of nowhere. Jenny was reviewing financial paperwork for her new job when she stumbled upon a document about a trust fund, one she had no idea existed. Our parents had set up a $150,000 trust in her name, accessible when she turns 30. It was created 3 years ago without informing either of us. Jenny was furious. She felt sick, realizing how much more our parents had quietly invested in her future and how they'd kept it hidden. She immediately confronted them. They gave a vague, defensive explanation, something about wanting to ensure her long-term stability and insisting they planned to do something similar for me eventually. But the trust was created before we even graduated from law school. That excuse rang hollow. Jenny made a bold and generous move. She told them she would not accept the trust unless they split equally between us, or gave it all to me to help balance out the years of unequal treatment. She told them that if they refused, it would show that they still didn't understand the harm they'd caused, and she'd be ready to cut ties permanently. Our parents freaked out. Dad called, furious, accusing me of manipulating Jenny and turning her against them. Mom called, crying, pleading with me to talk her out of it. They were acting like Jenny couldn't possibly come to this conclusion on her own, which only showed how little they respect either of us as independent, thoughtful adults. This made something very clear to me. This was never just about the money. It was about feeling like we were loved equally, supported equally, and seen for who we are, not just who they thought we could become. Jenny understood that before I did. She was willing to give up a significant financial advantage to stand beside me and demand fairness. After thinking it through, I decided to accept the $75,000 check and pay off my loans. But I told Jenny I didn't want a cent from the trust fund. She's worked hard and deserves some financial security, even if the way it was given to her was flawed. Her willingness to give it up said everything I needed to hear. We had another sit down with our parents. This time we were very clear. The money wasn't the core issue. The emotional harm, the years of disparity, the pressure and comparison, that's what needed to be addressed. They finally seemed to understand that this wasn't going to be solved with a check or a quick fix. They agreed to start family therapy, both with us and on their own. They also said they'd step back and let Jenny and me rebuild our relationship as sisters without inserting themselves into the dynamic. We're moving into our new apartment this weekend and starting our jobs next week. After everything, it finally feels like we're taking control of our lives together. Update 3. I wasn't planning another update, but something happened today that truly put everything into perspective. Jenny and I started our jobs this week. I'm loving the work at my family law firm, and Jenny's already getting glowing reviews at her corporate job. We've been decompressing at night, sharing our firsts and reflecting on how much has changed in just a few weeks. Then today, Jenny got a call from our parents' financial advisor. He's worked with our family for years, and he was calling because he was confused. Our parents had scheduled a meeting with him to revise their retirement plan in light of a changed family situation. Turns out our parents had been counting on us financially, not just for occasional help or emotional support, but for regular contributions to supplement their retirement. They had told the advisor that both their daughters were going to be high-earning lawyers who could support them. And now, because we distanced ourselves, they told him they could no longer count on that income stream. The advisor called Jenny, thinking there must have been a misunderstanding. He gently suggested that maybe some kind of therapy or mediation might help resolve things. Jenny politely but firmly told him there was never any agreement to support them financially, and that based on their retirement plan on our future income without telling us was deeply inappropriate. After the call, we sat in stunned silence. They hadn't just seen us as children, they'd seen us as investments. It suddenly made sense. Why did they push us so hard towards high-income careers? Why did Jenny get more support? Why did they react with panic when we pulled away? That realization changed everything. It was painful, but clarifying. We're not responsible for their retirement. And going forward, any relationship with them needs to be built on mutual respect and love, not on financial expectation. We're sticking with the family therapy plan, but we've decided to draw a firm boundary. No more discussions about money. If our parents can't engage with us on an emotional human level, without seeing us as their financial safety net, then we'll walk away knowing we did everything we could. What could have torn us apart has actually brought Jenny and me closer than ever. We've come out of this mess stronger, more self-assured, and fully united. We stood up for ourselves, we supported each other, and we made it clear that we won't be treated as anything less than equals. I'm starting my career debt-free. Jenny and I are living on our own terms, and no matter what happens with our parents going forward, I know we'll be okay, because we've got each other's backs. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.